Hello, this is Charlie Crimebuster, and this is another Charlie Crimebuster special. Today we're going to be talking about Bill Cosby and how he went from hero to zero. Well, hello, and welcome once again to the Charlie Crimebuster's Crime Talk. I'm Charlie Crimebuster, and today we're going to review how America's dad became just another old dirty man. Well, what exactly happened? How did we get here? And hey, what's with this 14-year gap in prosecuting him? All of this and more on today's show. But first, we always listen to our listeners, and they are calling for more Crazy Crook stories. They like them because, you see, it reminds us that it is the smart people that obey the law, and, well, the others, they just get caught. They get caught because they come after them. Well, our crazy crook today is a guy by the name of Reuben Collins. Reuben Collins. He's called the Forgetful Thief because, well, people say he leaves personal items behind, and at least he did during these two break-ins. Corporal Sarah Coursey. She said, first of all, they were talking about maybe something like about Cinderella, because one of the items he left was a tennis shoe sneaker. But she said that really didn't kind of get to us, so he started losing other things or leaving other things behind. So they thought maybe he was just playing around with them, kind of playing a joke on them, but then they realized it was just purely accidental. He was forgetful. You see, detectives said when they arrived at the Fountain Inn Nursing and Rehabilitation construction site, they said that when they got there, not only was a refrigerator and television gone, but there was a sweater. A sweater was left behind. Then 2 days later, investigators say they showed up again. After Collins, he returned to the scene, this time to take the remote from the TV he stole earlier. Because you know what? He left the remote behind. And this time, he left a pair of sneakers behind. So he was certainly forgetful. Then Collins shows up one more time. He feels bad. He comes to the construction crew and he says, he promises he's going to return the stolen items. Now, local Channel 6 in Orlando, they found 17 mug shots of Collins from the Lake County Jail, and all that within the past 10 years. Corporal Coursey goes on to say he's well known to law enforcement. I bet that he is. But lesson learned, if you are that forgetful, Mr. Collins, just maybe you ought not to be into the stealing business. All right, to our main topic, how America's dad, Bill Cosby, went from hero to zero. You see, it was just another American court drama. A trial of the century. The press is present. The crowd is assembled. Now, part of the crowd, they're chanting justice for survivors. Justice for survivors. There's another part that's answering with yells of free Bill, free Bill. Yep, the stage is set. Another trial of the century. But unfortunately, it's just been turned into another high-profile trial because of the all-too-common occurrence of these type of trials. To add some spice, while Cosby, America's dad, was approaching the building that first day, a topless woman gets past the barricade right into the path of Cosby at the start of the trial. That is a topless woman. Bill Cosby trial. Hey, I bet when you watch the Cosby Show, you never thought you'd hear those three words in the same sentence. Well, the excitement outside, it's matched with the tension on the inside. There's a jury, and they find Bill Cosby, who played the lovable and family loyal Dr. Cliff Huxtable. They found him guilty of drugging and molesting Andrea Constand at his home in Philadelphia way back in 2004. But how did we get here? How did it all start? And what's with that 14-year gap? Well, it seems that Bill Cosby met Andrea Constand way back in 2002, and it was up at the Temple University in Pennsylvania. She, the director of operations for the Temple University women's basketball team. And Cosby, he was there as an alumnus and supporter of the team. Now, according to testimony from a deposition in 2005, Cosby stated that he had, quote, a romantic interest, unquote, in Constand. But Andrea, she saw him as a mentor who was 35 years older than her. Cosby went on to say in the deposition that he worked on their relationship by inviting her to his house, talking to her about personal situations, including how to have a more aggressive attitude and how to protect oneself in business. January 2004, Cosby asked her over to his Elkins Park mansion to talk with her about her career. Now, Cosby confirmed this in his own statement. While she was there that night, Cosby says he gave her some Benadryl to help her relax, and Cosby says that what happened later was consensual between two adults. Not so, according to Andrea. She said she was told that the drug was a herbal medication, and that Cosby sexually molested her that night. She also says she could not speak or even move because of the strength of the drugs that was given. And as to her relationship with Cosby, Andrea says she was gay, and she was in a relationship with another woman at that time, and that she had no interest whatsoever in a romantic relationship with Cosby. Now, over the next year, Andrea's mother reported and noticed a change in her daughter. This is according to her mom. Andrea had nightmares, screamed out in her sleep. People could notice a change in her personality, and she often isolated herself. Then 1 year later, in January, Andrea Constand told her mother what had happened. She told her mom that she was invited over to the Cosby house and what Cosby had done to her without her consent. An angry mother, as you can imagine, then attempted to reach Cosby, but he could not. That night, she and Andrea contacted the police. You see, at this time, they were living in Ontario, Canada. Now, by the way, in case you're wondering, Cosby did call them. And according to Cosby's deposition, he apologized. He asked what he could do. And Andrea's mother said nothing's already been done. Then his assistants, they offered Andrea money for graduate school. 1 month later, in February, 1 month later, Bruce L. Castor, Jr., Montgomery County District Attorney, decided not to bring criminal charges against Cosby. Bruce said that insufficient credible and admissible evidence was his reason for not progressing with the criminal charge. But wait a minute, not quite over. Andrea Constand filed a civil lawsuit against Cosby. And get this, 13 women came forward saying Cosby had done the same thing to them. And then, ladies and gentlemen, 4 days of testimony and approximately 1,000 pages of written, recorded testimony, and they decided to settle out of court. It seems that Cosby did not want to see that laundry aired out in public. Now, something else about that testimony was very notable. In Cosby's deposition, he admitted under oath, he admitted that he purchased Quaaludes to have sex with women, even though he was quick to say that he was not in possession of the now banned sedative when the alleged incident with Andrea took place. And hey, in that lawsuit, it was sealed. Nobody could know exactly what the amount was. It was under a seal. But since then, that seal has been lifted. And the payment amount paid in that civil lawsuit, $3.5 million. So if there was a civil lawsuit, if it was settled out of court, if money was paid, we have to wonder why. Why now? Why now is there a trial? And why is this still an issue? And how did we get from there to guilty and facing prison? I'll tell you that in just a moment. But first, if you are someone or you know someone who you feel has been sexually abused, call the National Assault Hotline. The National Sexual Assault Hotline. The number 1-800-656-HOPE, H-O-P-E. 1-800-656-HOPE or 1-800-656-4673. Now the good people there, they'll be able to get you to local resources to help you. That number again, 1-800-656-HOPE, HOPE, or 1-800-656-4673. Okay, how did we get there? How did Bill Cosby become hero to zero? Two things plus one. First of all, the joke that was heard around the world. Number two, what I call the smoking gun. And a third thing that I want to mention to you in just a moment. First, the joke heard around the world. Now, you've heard of the shot heard around the world. What about a joke that was heard around the world? The joke heard around the world, well, it started a war on Bill Cosby way back in 2014. There was a comedy routine, a guy by the name of Hannibal. The joke was told, it was heard around the world. You see, Hannibal made fun of Cosby. He made fun of Cosby. Sarcastically, he said, "Pull your pants up, black people. I was on TV in the 80s. Then he goes on to say, yeah, but you rape women, Bill Cosby. So turn the crazy down a couple of notches." Also, he then challenged the audience. He said, go home, Google Bill Cosby rape. But guess what? They did not have to go home to read about it, because that joke went viral. And my friend, women came out of the woodwork making similar accusations. You thought 13 was a lot? It just kept building. Here's a few of those women and their accusations, just a few. Carla, the wife of the former Incredible Hulk, says that in 1967 she went on a double date with a friend, Cosby, and his wife, Camille. She said Cosby got her alone, grabbed her, kissed her. She pushed him off and ran to find her date, who immediately took her home. Miss Wells alleges, she alleged this back in March 27, she said that Cosby raped her twice when she was an aspiring singer in the mid-60s by drugging her drink. She said the first time he attacked her, she was drinking champagne. After the second time, she never saw him again. Joan, she comes forward November the 16th, 2014. She says that back in 1969, Cosby drugged and assaulted her when she was a young actress at the age of 19. Allegedly, he forced her to perform oral sex during one encounter, drugged her, and raped her in another. Then, Judy files a lawsuit against Cosby. She alleges that he took her and a friend to the Playboy Mansion in 1974 and sexually assaulted her. Now, after her lawsuit was filed, prosecutors questioned Cosby, but they declined to file charges because of the statute of limitations. But listen, friend, Judy, she was 15, just 15 years of age when that allegedly took place. That all coming from the joke that was heard around the world. The second reason that we're where we are now is because of the smoking gun. I call it the smoking gun. Now, Mr. Cosby may have some good lawyers, and I'm sure he does, but someone let the barn door open, and the horses, friend, they not only got out, I mean, they ran a couple of laps around the city. Because Bill Cosby, he said himself, under oath, that he purchased Quaaludes to drug women and have sex with them. Said it himself in the deposition. Now, this is the first time that this has come out. When they were looking at the possibility of charging him earlier, that information wasn't available, but it is now. And add to this, there is now a new sheriff in town, because on November the 3rd, 2015, Montgomery County held an election. There they elected Kevin R. Steele as district attorney. Now, Steele had criticized the 2005 decision not to prosecute Cosby. And now, with the statement from the deposition, along with more women coming forward, you got it, he's ready to go. So on December 30th, 2015, Bill Cosby, America's dad, is arrested, charged with aggravated indecent assault. And that was just in time, because the 12-year statute of limitations was about to run out on that. So in June 2017, the very first criminal trial is held. And 6 days later, it ends in a mistrial, jury hopelessly deadlocked. Now, we talked about 60 women that came forth, but still could not get the judge to let even a dozen to testify. Not even a dozen. He only could get one in. Only one was able to testify. A lady by the name of Kelly Johnson, who said that Cosby drugged and assaulted her in a hotel out in Los Angeles in 1969. Now, the limit of women to testify, along with Cosby's hired guns, his hired legal guns, his expensive attorneys, well, they could not get him off of a not guilty, but they did get a deadlocked jury and a mistrial. So fast forward to 2018. Now, remember what got us here. Joke heard around the world. What I called the shooting gun is on a mission of drugging women to have sex with him. And now there's one other thing that comes into play, a third thing, a hashtag. A simple hashtag. Hashtag #MeToo. Hashtag #MeToo. The Me Too movement, women have charged people who thought that they were untouchable with allegations of unwanted sexual assault. We have been bombarded all over media with women leveling charges against these so-called famous untouchable people, Kevin Stacey, Matt Lauer, and the list goes on and on. So now, with a new trial and a new culture, the retrial begins. For the first time, the amount of Mr. Cosby's settlement with Andrea is revealed. And this time, the judge will allow 5 women to testimony. 5 women to testimony that Cosby assaulted them in ways similar to how Andrea says she was attacked. Remember, the first trial, only one other woman was permitted to take the stand. So, in April 26, 2018, a jury finds Mr. Cosby guilty on 3 counts. 3 counts of assaulting Andrea Constand, penetration with lack of consent, penetration with unconscious, and penetration after administering a drug. Now, these each are felonies, punishable to 10 years in state prison, though the sentences could be served concurrently. Now, what's to follow? There most certainly will be an appeal, especially regarding the 5 additional women testifying about acts which Cosby was not prosecuted for. His lawyers will argue that it unduly perjured the jury. But get this one. There was one person on the jury, a male, who stated it wasn't that convinced him to vote guilty. It wasn't that, but it was rather that smoking gun I talked about, where Bill Cosby himself told on himself that he drugged women in order to have sex with them. He became his own worst enemy, even in his trial. So, what can we learn? Quickly, let me wrap it up. First, it is never right to coerce anyone anytime to have sex. Not as a boss, not as a pastor, not as a priest, or even as a president. You cannot use drugs or your position to force someone for sex. Number 2, if you are a victim of sexual assault, immediately report it. Immediately. These cases are difficult to prove because often the lapse of time in reporting them. Now, on a personal note, as a former special victims investigator, I know how children and others allow fear to keep them quiet. But the quicker you say something, the better. And if you're having a problem, don't forget the hotline, 1-800-656-HOPE, 1-800-656-4673, a national helpline. Keep those numbers handy. Last but not least, assume your own responsibility to keep yourself safe. Listen to that inner voice that tells you something here just doesn't seem right. Stay away from dangerous places. Stay away from dangerous people. And do not allow alcohol, drugs, or anything else get your guard down. Hey, this is Charlie Crimebuster with another Charlie Crimebuster special. We invite you to join us at our website for more broadcasts like this, charliecrimebuster.com, charliecrimebuster.com. Till this time next time, be safe. For the life you save, it may be your very own.